Beautiful Ireland is one country that many of us have heard about. Places such as the valley of Glendalough or beautiful County Clare are familiar names to many American families which had their beginnings in Ireland. And so we in America have always had a fondness for Ireland and its people. Let's meet the people who live in this simple thatched cottage with its clean white walls. This is Eileen and her father and grandmother. They are interested in the letter that the postman has brought, a letter from Eileen's Uncle Tim in America. He's going to visit Ireland, and he's arriving next week by airplane. So, a few days later, Eileen and her father are off in their pony cart to Shannon Airport to meet Uncle Tim. And there's the big Skyliner, arriving only half a day after leaving New York City. Uncle Tim is looking for Eileen, whom he hasn't seen for several years. Suppose we imagine we've come with Uncle Tim on his visit to Ireland. What he sees and learns during his visit, we will see and learn too. As we go along the road, we pass people on bicycles, and in trucks, and in pony carts. And we see Irish men and women busy on the farms, harvesting their grain. At harvest time, the threshing machines do a grand job for all the neighboring farmers together. After the grain is threshed, the straw is often used for thatching the roofs of cottages. In some parts of Ireland, the land contains a kind of turf called peat. In a peat bog, the turf, or peat, is cut with a tool called a slane. The turf is stacked to let the air through so it will dry out as quickly as possible. Peat is something like coal. It is an important fuel in Ireland. Once it is dry, it is carried wherever fuel is needed. Sometimes in the peat bogs, Eileen's father finds beads, amber beads, that legend says have magic powers. Eileen's father often tells her about the other things that the bogs give up, ancient articles that were buried long ago, gold ornaments and other relics of Ireland's history. Speaking of Ireland's history, we can see that too in her famous landmarks. Castles, now mostly in ruins, were both home and fortress for Irish chieftains who led their clansmen in the old days of chivalry. At the same time, there were great abbeys famous for their learning. St. Kevin's monastic settlement at Glendalough, founded in the 6th century, was one of the best known in all Europe. And the Round Tower in Glendalough was a place of refuge for the holy men 1,000 years ago in times of enemy invasion. But of all the Irish ruins, you've probably heard most of old Blarney Castle and the famous Blarney Stone at the top. The stone is supposed to make you an eloquent speaker if you kiss it, as this lad is doing. And if you don't get dizzy seeing everything upside down, you'll come up ready for a lot of smooth talk, or, as we say, a lot of Blarney. But old ruins are not all we see in the Irish countryside. The green pastures of the Emerald Isle support many sheep. They supply meat for Irish tables, as well as wool for clothing. First, the wool is carded. Spinning wheels are still used to spin the wool into long strands of yarn. Then the yarn is woven into cloth on a loom. Irish homespun tweeds are famous the world over. Cattle raising is another important industry. The village cattle fairs are held early in the morning. These cattle dealers are striking a bargain by actually striking each other's hands. Buying and selling are carried on in the towns and villages, which in Ireland, as everywhere else, are the shopping and trading centers for the surrounding districts. In the smaller towns, life is quiet and unhurried. But the larger centers of trade in Ireland, such as Dublin, are busy cities similar to our own. O'Connell Bridge, spanning the River Liffey, is a famous Dublin landmark. There is more bicycle traffic than we usually see on American streets, but doesn't this bus and auto traffic remind you of our own towns and cities? And the crowds of downtown workers waiting to board the double-deck buses and hurrying home look quite familiar to us. Department stores, much like those in American cities, offer both Irish-made and imported goods. In the cities, the storefronts often read like a directory of Irish family names. Let's visit a family that lives in one of the big cities. This is the home of the O'Shea family, Eileen's cousins. Let's see how the O'Sheas spend their day. The first thing, of course, is breakfast that Mother prepares. Upstairs, in the bedroom, the girls of the family are getting up. Here's Una, and Noreen, and Peggy O'Shea. A typical day means getting up early and then eating breakfast with the whole family. There's porridge for Brother Terence, and bacon and eggs for all. After breakfast, the children leave for school, and Father is off to work. Boys and girls go to separate school buildings. The Irish National School is the free public school. Going to school in Ireland is pretty much the same as going to school in our country. In this school, the Gaelic, or Irish language, is taught in addition to English and other subjects that we study. After school, the brothers and sisters practice their dancing while Mother plays for them. Terence spends some time on his homework, and finally, later in the evening, the family gathers about the hearth to enjoy the peace and quiet of their home. But family life is not complete without the church. It is in the many churches that the Irish people find expression for their deep faith. The Irish love fun and celebrations, too. At the Irish festival, called Feis, the old arts of folk dancing and singing are staged. Everyone encourages the boys and girls who compete for prizes. The pipers' bands at the Feis also compete for prizes, in costumes, marching and playing spirited tunes. Another famous event in Ireland is the International Horse Show at Dublin. The show attracts skilled riders, both grown-ups and children, who put on a thrilling display of fine horsemanship. Ireland's national sport is hurling, a rough and tumble game that is somewhat like field hockey. And now we've seen all the different things that Uncle Tim saw on his visit. And as he returns to Shannon Airport, Tim tells Eileen he will always remember the people and the places he has seen. We, too, will remember the beautiful Irish countryside, with scenes such as this quiet lake of Killarney, this mountain peak clad in a gray mist, and the golden sun caught between the clouds. Many indeed are the things that we have seen and learned on our visit to old Ireland.